Alright, this unit we're going to be going over mouse and motion listeners. What do mouse listeners do? They allow frames and panels to respond to the following mouse events. A mouse button being pressed, let me silence my ringer, a mouse button being released, a mouse button being clicked, when a mouse moves onto a component, or when a mouse moves off of a component. How do you set up a mouse listener? You implement the mouse listener class. So that'll be done at the top of the file. We're going to see an example later, so don't worry if none of this makes a whole lot of sense yet. As long as you make notes over what the lists are, you'll be able to see me do them in the video. Step 2, add the listener to the component. So we're going to say add mouse listener, this, where this will be either the window or the panel. We're always doing everything in a panel, so this is going to be the panel. Then we implement the required methods. Void mouse pressed, mouse event E, void mouse released, void mouse clicked, void mouse entered, void mouse exited. So we're going to have to write all 5 of those methods. When we're working with a mouse event, we can use getX to figure out where on the screen the mouse event occurred. We can use getY to figure out where on the screen the mouse event occurred in the Y direction. And we have getButton. A lot of events like pressed or release, a particular button caused that event. These events are stored as constants in the mouse event class. An example would be if you did e.getButton and you had mouse event dot button 1, that would be the left mouse. Button 2 is the mouse wheel. Button 3 is the right mouse button. An example, place different colored boxes on which button is pressed. So we're going to have a middle button, a left button, and a right button. So let's go ahead and exit out of this for now. So we'll get into that. We're going to go into this example. This is an example we had from the last unit. So it's not a project, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and just move on anyway. So I want everything open just in case we need it. So int x of left, so when we press with the left key, we're going to do all 3 keys. Well, let's just do left and right. Of left. So this of left is when we press that particular key. We're just going to give these initial values. So these need to be private. So what I'm doing is just creating data for the drawing, and I'll get back to following our steps in a second. We're going to have a left click and a right click. And right. Maybe these start at 100 just so they're not laying on top of each other at the very beginning. Okay, so here JPanel also will implements mouse listener. And you're not going to see, it's going to go right behind my face, but that says mouse listener. Our next step, I believe, was adding a mouse listener. Add mouse listener to itself, this. Then we're going to write the 5 required methods. Public void mouse pressed, and it has a mouse event E. Mouse event E. I forgot the step of doing the correct imports, so we'll do that in a minute. But let's get the 5 methods written. So we have mouse pressed, we have mouse released, we have mouse clicked, and we have mouse entered, and we have mouse exited. So we're just going to be using the press one, so we're going to leave the other ones empty. If the first thing we care about is the button, if e.getButton equal mouse event dot button 1, then we're going to do some code. But let's go up here, int x equals e.getX. And I could say e.getX lots of places, but I don't really want to. So I'm just going to store them into variables. So I'm getting the position that was clicked, and here I'm checking the button. If button was 1, we're going to say, I think it's called x of left equals the x position of the mouse, y of left equals the y position of the mouse. And just being a little lazy here, I'm going to say if it was a button 3, which is the right click, we're going to do the same things, but for the right button. Now we just have to get some drawing going. So, in our paint method, we draw a big black rectangle. And then we're going to draw a red rectangle where the x of left is, and the y of left. And this guy is going to be 10 by 10. And let's say where there's a right, where the right one is, we're going to draw a green. Trying to get by on time. I know things are a little tight on the timetable. So here we go. And the last thing I want to do is compile. Cannot find symbol. Java x.swing, and I believe awt.event. Import java.awt.event.star. Cannot find symbol. Oh, apparently I have to spell things correctly, so I misspelled mouse event lots of times. So we need to go change all of those to say mouse event with a capital E. Can't find symbol. X of left, Y of left. Oh, fill. Fill rect. I want to draw rectangles. So we went through and now we've coded the entire file. And I'm not in a project, so I had to compile all the files. And now we have this. Doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot, because I missed a very important command. After I change the coordinates, I need to repaint. This will invoke the paint method again. That way I can redraw the screen. I'm hoping that's all that I messed up. Psh. See, whenever I right click, it moves the green one. Whenever I left click, it moves the red one. Alright, let's go back to our slides and see if we can finish those up. I'm just going to leave it here, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, mouse motion listeners allow frames and panels to respond to the following events: a mouse being moved or a mouse being dragged. Our steps that we're required to do for this one is we implement mouse motion listener. Then we add mouse motion listener this, which will be our panel. We write the required methods, mouse moved and mouse dragged. Move just means that you're moving the mouse. Dragged means you're holding a mouse button down as it's moving. And we're going to do an example of that. So we're just going to go back to our other example that we've already been working on. And we're going to do private int x of mouse equals minus 10. We're going to put the position of a circle off the screen. Y of mouse. And then once we start moving the mouse around, as the mouse moves, the circle is going to follow it. It's going to be like our little pointer where we're going to be putting an X. Sorry, putting a square if we click. So I could do a crosshair, but that would take a little more time. Now up here, let's move my face for a second. implements mouse listener, comma, mouse motion listener. Now I can put my face back. We're going to go down here and we're going to say, you know what, this window doesn't just care about mouse listeners, it cares about mouse I don't even know what I'm typing. About mouse motion listeners, which means there's two more methods we have to write. Mouse dragged and mouse moved. So I'm going to write mouse dragged and mouse moved. And in the mouse moved code, anytime the mouse moves, I'm going to say x of mouse equals e.getx. Y of mouse equals e.getY. And now that I've updated that data, I want to repaint so we actually see it happen, like I didn't do earlier. So, repaint. Let's see if I did everything right. Almost. I gotta go to main. It doesn't know where the mouse is. So now I give focus to this window. Oh, I didn't ever tell it to draw anything. Alright, let's go back and edit the paint so it actually draws something. So repainting doesn't have any effect if there's actually nothing to draw. So we haven't used blue yet, so let's go ahead and make a blue circle. So as the mouse moves, we will draw an oval, and x of mouse, y of mouse, and we're going to draw him 4 by 4. We want him to be pretty small. Well, y'all might not be able to see that on their video. So let's do, you know what, let's just do 10 by 10. I want to make sure y'all can clearly see it on the video. And I got to go over to main. This is why we always have projects. It's very annoying when you press play and it doesn't do anything. But look, as I move, there's a blue circle. It's kind of sitting under the mouse, so you might not be able to see it as well. So let's do a 30 by 30, just so it's big, so you can see that it's happening. Every time the mouse moves, it causes a mouse event of a mouse move, and when that happens, we repaint the screen, drawing a 30 by 30 circle. The other part still works for the clicking, but this circle will always follow my mouse. Alright, that covers us for this video. Let's just double check that there wasn't another slide. There's not.